Good morning and welcome to Farm Factor. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom. Today, Kyle Bauer visits with animal agriculture experts. First, meet Darren Williams, who is in the Communications Division of NCBA, and Dr. Justin Smith, the Deputy Animal Health Commissioner with the KDA. Next, enjoy our weekly Kansas Soybean update. Then we're back with Kyle and K-State's Dr. Dan Thompson, who discusses the use of antibiotics in food animals and antibiotics resistance. We'll end with Hannah Thompson with the Animal Ag Alliance and learn how they connect with consumers with positive, science-based, and factual information about modern animal agriculture. It's all coming up on Farm Factor. Stay with us.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. This segment is brought to you by Kansas Wheat. Learn more at rediscoverwheat.org.
Welcome to Farm Factor. Let's join Kyle and Darren Williams as they discuss animal disease control.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer. I have the opportunity to visit with Darren Williams. He's with National Cattlemen's Beef Association Communications Division. We want to talk animal disease control because I'm not sure a lot of the listeners understand that there's a lot of people in the industry and in government that's working toward the control or the outbreak of diseases and what would happen if that were to occur. Can you help us a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's one of probably the most significant issues that our industry faces is the potential for something like a foot and mouth disease or other foreign animal disease to come to the United States. We haven't had foot and mouth disease since 1929. But with the way people travel around the globe these days, and, you know, we see stories about things like Ebola and now the Zika virus and the ability to travel, it's something we really need to be prepared for to protect the industry, to protect farmers and ranchers in Kansas and around the country in the event of an outbreak like that. So we do a lot of planning around that effort.
I think the term that we hear a lot is working group. Can you help us understand who all would be in a working group for this sort of a project?
Sure. Let's take foot and mouth disease. We have a group called the Cross-Species Working Group, Foot and Mouth Disease Cross-Species Working Group, and that's cloven-hooved animals. So it's beef, pork, dairy, and the sheep industry that collaborates on that. And then, of course, the government, the federal government and state governments play a critical role in responding to a foreign animal disease outbreak with things like stopping movement and you know, what are you going to do to stop the spread of the disease. So it's a collaboration between those commodity organizations that are heavily involved and have the most at stake, as well as those government entities.
And a lot of us, we take for granted the movement of cattle and hogs and sheep regularly on our highways, but when this sort of thing breaks out, it's a major problem.
Absolutely. The way we produce beef and pork and dairy products in this country today, you know, there's a lot of interstate movement, and we take that for granted in the United States that we can move freely across these borders. But when it comes to protecting animal health and stopping the spread of the disease, because it's a very significant economic impact, potential economic impact, the spread of the disease, you got to stop movement of animals. You know, if you have a processing facility in Oklahoma and then you got the ranch in Kansas or the feed yard, and you're moving those cattle across those state borders, there's potential to spread the disease.
Well, and truly, if it's the middle of July and you've got live animals on a truck, you can't park them alongside the road and discuss it for a day or so.
That's right. I mean, these decisions have to be made fast, and to protect both the animals' health as well as the people who have the economic investment in those animals. And that's why it's so important to do the planning now. You know, one thing from a communication standpoint that I think was critical that we'd be trying to get the message out is that foot and mouth disease is a serious animal health issue, but it's not a human health issue. There's not, you know, meat and milk is safe. We certainly don't want consumers say we're not going to go to the grocery store and buy beef because of foot and mouth disease. So that there's a communications as well as an operational response plan in place.
It's Darren Williams with National Cattlemen's Beef. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Folks, stay with us. Kyle will be back with Dr. Justin Smith with the Kansas Department of Ag.
Grain sorghum is one of the most important cereal crops worldwide, and Kansas leads the nation in its production. A high-energy, drought-tolerant crop, sorghum only requires 6 inches of water to produce the first bushel. And with its wide uses and easy adaptation, sorghum proves to be a truly indispensable crop. Kansas Grain Sorghum is committed to sorghum research, market development, and education. Learn more at ksgrainsorghum.org.
Buying a car shouldn't be this hard. And at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego, it isn't. It's actually awesome. Whether you want a new or used car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. Even if you want to custom order a new car or truck, Toby's team can make the deal. See Toby's team at Brown Chevrolet Buick in Wamego. We're awesome.
Watch Ag AM in Kansas online at agaminkansas.com. This segment is brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff. Progress powered by Kansas farmers.
We're back. Let's join Kyle and Dr. Smith and learn about controlling animal disease with movement regulations, testing, quarantine requirements, and more.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer from Manhattan visiting with Justin Smith. He's with the Kansas Department of Agriculture, a veterinarian with them. Help us understand what the job of the Kansas Department of Agriculture is when it comes to animal disease control.
Sure. The Animal Health Division is actually our challenge. Our mission is to protect the animal, the health, safety, and welfare of our livestock industry, as well as our pet industry across the state. So our job is basically to reach out there and view the livestock industry to see what regulations, what rules need to be put in place to help protect that, whether it be animal movement regulations, whether it be disease regulations as far as the testing requirements and the quarantine requirements in that respect. Our biggest the other thing that we do is we reach out there and we do any kind of a foreign animal or emergency disease investigation. We are responsible for taking care of those as well.
Well, and truly, as we have confined animals in large numbers, sometimes there can be disease outbreaks, and it's your job to try to keep those controlled as much as possible.
By all means. I mean, if we're unfortunate to have a disease outbreak in the state of Kansas, we practice all the time, and we're challenged all the time to how we're going to contain that, how we're going to squelch that, and mitigate the risk and the damage that animal disease will have upon our industry.
And truly, those diseases range all the way from rabies, which is a relatively small number over wider periods and a lot of different species, to sometimes last summer avian influenza, right? Was that what it was called? And you had to do some euthanizing of large numbers?
Definitely. Avian influenza was the one disease last year that impacted the United States, the largest animal health disease incident in the history of the United States. Unfortunately, state of Kansas, we did deal with it. It was on a smaller scale, but we did have to deal with it. But it did impact a great number of birds.
So you have a lot of cooperation then with people out in the field in every county?
Most definitely. We couldn't do it without the cooperation. We rely on them producers and owners to look at their animals each day, the daily husbandry, as well as the local veterinarian society. We rely on them tremendously. And if we have to do a response, we've worked out arrangements. We work on the local emergency responders as well as the local officials in any county to work to mitigate this.
And you also have cooperation and or cross agreements with neighboring states.
That's right, we do. One of the big things that we have in place now is MOUs with these states that if we have a disease and we need to shut down our borders for the purpose of movements, we have their acknowledgement that they're going to do the same. And so, yes, we do reach out across states and definitely communicate with them.
And we think about that on big scenarios, but that happens regularly, even with like horse movement.
Yes, it does. Likewise, an example is the vesicular stomatitis that was affecting our neighboring states to the west this last year. When they got that disease on a farm, it locked that farm down until they could mitigate it and actually get rid of that disease and prove that it wasn't there to be spread anymore.
We're visiting with Justin Smith. Justin is with the Kansas Department of Agriculture. This is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Kyle. Next up is this week's Kansas Soybean Update. Don't go away.
Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture, represents grassroots agriculture. The state's largest and most powerful farm organization stands up for its members through leadership development, agriculture education, legal defense, environmental advocacy, farm safety, and risk management. Members also enjoy money-saving benefits. To join our organization today or to learn more, go to www.kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to Farm Factor and the Kansas Soybean Update.
This is the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Craig Gigstad is a soybean producer from Valley Falls, Kansas, and also serves as a Kansas representative on the board of directors of the United Soybean Board. Craig, the Soy Checkoff, has been working to show the benefits and value of using high oleic soybean oil for restaurants to use in their kitchens.
As part of its demand-building strategy, the Soy Checkoff educates the food industry on the benefits of high oleic soybean oil. Recently, the Checkoff funded case studies with 2 restaurants whose chefs came away with a new appreciation and a preference for high oleic soybean oil. These case studies verified the research that has been on high oleic soybean oil and shows its acceptance and success in the food industry. The chefs saw how the innovative technology offers solutions to the trans fats and other issues.
What's going to convince more restaurants to make the switch to high oleic soybean oil?
Having seen the benefits of using high oleic soybean oil firsthand, these chefs are now advocates within the food industry. As the number of companies adopting the oil increases in the near future, industry officials expect U.S. acreage of high oleic varieties to grow as well. The soybean industry has set a goal of 18 million acres of high oleic soybeans planted by 2023 to meet projected consumer needs. This should help USB sustain its mission of increasing U.S. soy producers' profitability.
And Craig, it's also exciting news that high oleic soybean varieties will be available in certain parts of Kansas for the first time in 2016.
We are very excited about that, Greg. Crush plant in Hastings, Nebraska has announced that they wanted to contract acres from south central Nebraska on down in north central Kansas. So areas around Concordia, Osborne area, those producers have had opportunity to contract acres, and I think the sign-up went extremely well. They filled 250,000 acres in 8 days. They're very pleased with the results.
Craig, we appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
That's Craig Gigstad, who is a soybean producer from Valley Falls, Kansas. He also serves as a Kansas representative on the board of directors of the United Soybean Board, and he's been our guest on the Kansas Soybean Update. It's brought to you by the Kansas Soybean Commission. The Soybean Checkoff, progress powered by Kansas farmers. Learn more at kansassoybeans.org. For Kansas Soybeans, I'm Greg Akagi.
Hope you enjoyed this week's Kansas Soybean Update. After the break, we'll join Kyle and Dr. Dan Thompson.
I will take action against herbicide-resistant weeds. I will know my weeds, and I will stop them before they go to seed. I will do whatever it takes to give my crops the upper hand, and I will use multiple herbicide sites of action because every action counts. I will take action, this time for all time.
Hello, I'm Dr. Frank Lyons from Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center here in Manhattan, Kansas. Darryl was one of our patients that we did about 7 months ago.
I dug trees by hand for years and years and years. In the process, I wore out my rotator cuff. But when I learned about this process, I thought if there's a way to get rid of this pain, then I want to do it. So we did it, and it worked. And I'm not going to go out and dig trees with a shovel anymore, but I can do the things that I want to do now.
Well, it's been very gratifying to help people with their painful joints and other entities. And it's been especially gratifying to be able to help people who I know and have worked with and known for many years.
This segment brought to you by Heinen Brothers Ag, farmers helping farmers by offering quality aerial and ground application, fertilizer, ag chemicals, and anhydrous ammonia. Call today to protect your crop yield.
Thanks for staying with us as Dr. Thompson offers insight into the issue of antibiotics resistance.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer from Manhattan, Kansas. At the Kansas Farm Bureau building, I have the opportunity to visit with Dr. Dan Thompson with Kansas State University. I heard your presentation on antibiotics in food and antibiotics resistance. The logic seemed easy to follow, and I'd like for you to share that with us.
Sure. Well, we start out because we have restaurant groups that are saying we want to ban the use of antibiotics in food animals because of the concern of antibiotic resistance in the human population. And the biggest risk of antibiotic resistance in our human population comes from overprescribing habits from human doctors and the human to human transmission of antibiotic resistance. Okay, when we move from looking at human to human, a much lower risk is transmission from animals to humans. And the only way we're going to have transmission of antibiotic resistance in bacteria, really from animals, food animals to humans, is going to be through foodborne pathogens, which we have a tremendous safeguard and firewall in place, whether it's FDA approval of products, veterinary client-patient relationship, withdrawal times, and USDA inspection. So we have this world's safest food supply. So let's move to the underdeveloped countries or the third world countries like China or India. And they say that if there's going to be a transmission of the biggest risk of transmission from animals to humans would be in the peri-urban areas of the slums of these developing countries like India. And where they don't have veterinary oversight, where they don't have withdrawal times, you can buy antibiotics on the street corner and people are living with the animals, with the goats, the chickens, the pigs. And so then there's close proximity of those animals living day to day. They have in-house slaughter, and so they don't have the safeguards. They don't have those the same types of systems in place that we do.
Now, close proximity of people and animals in the United States, and where would that most likely happen?
It's where we cohabitate, and that would be the small animals. So our dogs, our cats. And so I hear nobody talking about antibiotic resistance or removing antibiotics from the small animal area of veterinary medicine. And we have to understand that there's a lot more direct transfer of antibiotic resistance from a dog licking its and then licking a child on the face. And I use the same antibiotics in small animal medicine as we do in human, and there's a lot more direct transmission. So I think at the end of the day, that's just kind of the logical approach to understanding the relative risk of antibiotics used in food animal production versus other areas of medicine. And we have to understand that most antibiotic issues with retailers of food products is coming from activists masquerading as consumers, wanting us to increase the cost of production of food and decrease people consuming food animal products.
And it really doesn't have anything to do with food safety, only with trying to reduce the amount of meat we consume as Americans.
That and the marketing and the competitiveness of one retailer versus the other. I don't have any problem with someone eating organic or natural products. My problem is when somebody tells me that the food I consume from conventional raising of beef cattle isn't as safe, isn't as wholesome, or isn't as nutritious as the other types of protein out there, because it's just not true.
Visiting with Dr. Dan Thompson with Kansas State University, this is Kyle Bauer reporting. Back to you, Jamie.
Come back after the break for Kyle's visit with Hannah Thompson with the Animal Ag Alliance.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Next time you see a beautiful field of corn, reach out and thank the farmers who work tirelessly to raise corn for livestock feed, renewable fuels, and exports to feed a growing world population.
The farmers on the Kansas Corn Commission work for Kansas Corn with grower-funded checkoff dollars that support foreign and domestic market development, research, promotion, and education to expand opportunities for Kansas farmers. To learn more, visit kscorn.com.
Soil is the life of a farm, and for 25 years, SureCrop Liquid Crop Nutrition has helped growers produce abundant quality crops while preserving and improving the soils they steward. SureCrop offers complete soil and plant analysis with cropping recommendations, delivery direct to your on-farm storage, and quality crop nutrition custom blended for your field. Choose SureCrop for the assurance of excellence for your soil. Call today or visit their website for more information.
I think Blueville does a great job of being educational in nature. They answer people's questions. They do it willingly. So we really appreciate that up close and personal approach that they have and how well they listen to their customers and respond to their needs.
And they're very prompt with things that we need to have done. And so we're very pleased with the service.
It's kind of a one-stop shop for all of your gardening and landscape needs.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply. Segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back. Let's join Kyle and Hannah Thompson to learn more about the Animal Ag Alliance, their diverse membership, and how they educate consumers with science.
Hi, this is Kyle Bauer from Kansas City. I have the opportunity to visit with Hannah Thompson. She's with the Animal Ag Alliance. Hannah, let's start with telling folks who the Animal Ag Alliance is.
The Animal Agriculture Alliance is an industry-united nonprofit organization, and our mission is bridging the communication gap between farm and fork. So what we really work to do is help connect consumers with positive, science-based, and factual information about modern animal agriculture to help them understand how farmers work and farmers' deep commitment to animal care.
So who are your members?
Our membership is really broad and diverse. We represent the total animal agriculture industry, so a lot of commodity groups that in turn represent farmers and ranchers, individual farmers and ranchers themselves, a lot of animal health companies, the nutrition, the feed side. So we always say if it has to do with producing milk, meat, and eggs, they either are our member or they should be.
So you are not an old organization, though. This is a relatively new organization that was meeting a need in the industry.
We've actually been around since 1987, so we are an organization with a deep history, but we have changed our focus somewhat in the more recent years to focus more on that communication side because we realize how important it is and how much of a need there is for that kind of information to be out there and for groups like us to try to be shielding the industry from the blows of misinformation that can be really damaging to a reputation.
But ultimately, it's an issue whether they bring it up on how they're cared for or bring up the nutrition. It's all about making animal agriculture less profitable.
Exactly, and I want to draw a very clear line between animal welfare and animal rights. Of course, animal welfare is how an animal is cared for and kind of the state of being of that animal. And farmers and ranchers are the biggest animal welfare advocates I've ever come across because they've dedicated their careers, dedicated their lives to working in this industry and to understanding animal care and taking the best care of their livestock and poultry that they can. Of course, as we mentioned, animal rights, on the other hand, is that belief that it's not okay to use animals. So it doesn't matter how high the standards of animal welfare are. These groups don't think it's acceptable, but I think they've realized that that message isn't going to resonate with consumers. The vast majority of our population enjoys eating animal products. They enjoy eating milk, meat, and eggs. So they've realized in order to drive these people away, they're trying to make what they call incremental changes. So they're trying to emphasize a lot of policies that they portray as being beneficial for animal welfare, but really what they're designed to do is make production less efficient, drive farmers out of business, drive the cost up, drive demand down, and really just gradually end our industry.
We're visiting with Hannah Thompson. She is with the Animal Agricultural Alliance. This is Kyle Bauer reporting from Kansas City.
Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Jamie Bloom, and I hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next week on Farm Factor. We're here every Tuesday on Ag AM in Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com. To see this show and past episodes of Ag AM in Kansas, go online to agamинkansas.com.